College football is built on chaos, and Week 1 of the 2025 season delivered it in waves. This wasn't just your standard opening Saturday of mismatched blowouts and sleepy non-conference games. This was an earthquake that rattled every corner of the sport, producing headlines that will fuel debates for months. Bill Belichick's debut at North Carolina turned into a nightmare as TCU flattened the Tar Heels. Ohio State dethroned preseason number 1, won Texas in a gritty defensive slugfest that reset the playoff conversation. Florida State left for dead just a year ago, shocked number 8 Alabama with a performance that sent Doak Campbell Stadium into a frenzy. And, as if that wasn't enough, Lee Corso ended his legendary College GameDay run with a perfect 6-0 set of picks. The final flourish on one of the most iconic broadcasting careers in sports history. Toss in Tennessee's sudden rise into playoff projections and a handful of upsets that wrecked the AP Top 25, and you've got one of the most unforgettable opening weekends in memory. TCU wrecks UNC in Belichick's debut. The biggest story heading into the weekend was Bill Belichick's stunning return to the sidelines, this time not in the NFL, but as the new head coach at North Carolina. The idea of Belichick bringing his defensive genius to Chapel Hill had created a buzz unlike anything UNC football had seen in decades. The stadium was sold out, alumni filled the sidelines, and the Tar Heels were expected to make a statement. Instead, they became the punchline of the week. TCU walked into Chapel Hill and dominated from the opening whistle, rolling to a 48-14 blowout that left fans stunned. The Horned Frogs scored 41 unanswered points, punctuated by defensive touchdowns and explosive plays that made UNC look completely unprepared. The moment that defined the disaster came when TCU's Bud Clark returned an interception for a touchdown, followed immediately by a Kavorian Barnes 75-yard run to start the second half. The rout was on, and social media wasted no time turning Belichick's much-hyped debut into a meme. For all of his NFL accolades, his first college test ended in humiliation. Ohio State overthrows Texas. While Belichick's collapse was headline-worthy, the true seismic shift came in Columbus, where Ohio State squared off with number 1 ranked Texas. The Longhorns entered the season riding the Armageddon-level hype of Arch Manning, preseason Heisman favorite, and a stacked roster. Yet when the lights came on, it was Ohio State who looked like the national title favorite. The Buckeyes' defense suffocated Manning, holding him to one of the worst performances of his young career. Pressure came from every angle, forcing Manning into hurried throws and misreads, while the secondary clamped down on Texas's receiving corps. Offensively, Ohio State didn't need fireworks. Freshman quarterback Julian Sayin managed the game effectively, hitting key throws when necessary, including a 40-yard touchdown to Carnell Tate that sent the home crowd into a frenzy. The Buckeyes prevailed 14-7 in a slugfest, sending Texas tumbling down the polls and likely ending their short-lived reign as the nation's top-ranked team. This win wasn't just about one Saturday. It was a statement that Ohio State is here to reclaim its place atop the college football hierarchy. Florida State stuns Alabama. Just as Ohio State's win reshaped the playoff picture, Florida State delivered a shock that will echo across the SEC and ACC all season. Coming off a disastrous 2-10 campaign, the Seminoles entered their opener against number 8 Alabama as heavy underdogs. Nobody expected much, except the players themselves. Quarterback Tommy Castellanos put on a clinic, combining poise as a passer with his ability to extend plays on the ground. He accounted for over 200 total yards and led FSU to a 31-17 upset victory. The defense maligned last season swarmed Alabama from start to finish, shutting down the Tide's run game and forcing turnovers that swung momentum. When the final whistle blew, Doak Campbell erupted. Fans stormed the field in a celebration so wild, it cost the program a $50,000 fine, but nobody in Tallahassee cared. Florida State had just announced their return to relevance with one of the program's biggest wins in years. For Alabama, meanwhile, questions abound about whether their dynasty has slipped another rung down the ladder. Lee Corso's legendary exit. Beyond the on-field drama, this weekend carried a moment of pure nostalgia and legacy. Lee Corso, the beloved face of ESPN's College GameDay for nearly 4 decades, signed off in style. At 90 years old, Corso had become a living legend known for his headgear picks and unfiltered charm. In his final appearance, he went out as perfectly as possible, nailing all 6 of his predictions, including Florida State's upset over Alabama and Miami's win over Notre Dame. It was the kind of storybook ending you couldn't script, and fans across the country celebrated his farewell. ESPN later confirmed it was the most-watched Game Day episode in history, a fitting tribute to a man who helped make Saturday mornings synonymous with college football. Corso left the stage not just as a broadcaster, but as a cultural icon, his legacy cemented forever. Tennessee enters playoff conversation. While the heavyweights traded blows, Tennessee quietly made its case as a rising contender. The Volunteers opened their season with a dominant win over Syracuse, showcasing both offensive firepower and defensive discipline. The victory immediately boosted their national perception, with ESPN analysts slotting them into early playoff projections as high as number 7. For a program that has been clawing its way back into national relevance, this was a massive step forward. Quarterback Nico Iamaleava displayed poise beyond his years, spreading the ball around and commanding the offense like a seasoned vet. Tennessee's defense also showed flashes of being able to compete with the best in the SEC, bottling up Syracuse's run game and forcing turnovers. The Vols aren't at Ohio State's level yet, but this weekend catapulted them into the playoff conversation. And as long as they keep stacking wins, the hype will only grow louder. Week 1 didn't stop there. LSU pulled off a convincing win over Clemson, while Miami took down Notre Dame in another top 25 shocker. Both results threw the ACC and playoff races into chaos before September even began. Meanwhile, the undercard delivered its own fireworks. Tarleton State stunned Army in a shocking FCS over FBS upset, while Austin Peay toppled Middle Tennessee. Highlight reels were filled with circus catches and breakaway touchdowns, with plays like Florida's one-handed touchdown grab already circulating as Play of the Year candidates. College football thrives on these unexpected moments, and Week 1 gave us a feast of them. So what's the big picture? The Big Ten looks like the early favorite to dominate the playoff race, with Ohio State planting its flag and Penn State and Michigan lurking. The SEC is more complicated. Georgia remains steady, but Alabama's loss to Florida State exposes cracks. The ACC suddenly looks rejuvenated, with both Florida State and Miami grabbing national attention. And nationally, programs like Tennessee have proven they deserve respect. The Heisman race, too, already looks wide open, with Castellanos, Sion, and Iamaleava all flashing potential. If this weekend taught us anything, it's that no preseason narrative is safe. The first weekend of college football in 2025 didn't just deliver games, it delivered a statement. Bill Belichick's UNC experiment began in disaster. Ohio State reminded the world that the Big Ten still owns a claim to supremacy. Florida State reignited a fan base that had been dormant for too long. Tennessee staked its claim as a playoff dark horse. And Lee Corso exited the stage with the perfect send-off, reminding us that college football is about more than just wins and losses. It's about stories, traditions, and moments that live forever. The standings will shift, the hype will rise and fall, but this weekend set the tone for a season that already feels destined for chaos. Buckle up, it's going to be one hell of a ride.